Okay, we have to praise the Father. Glorify His name. Let's pray. Let's pray. Father, we just want to say thank you for your love, your mercies, your truth, your everlasting mercies that endure. Father, we just give you glory, we give you praise, we give you honor. You are worthy of all honor and praise. We thank you. We thank you, Father, for who you are. We want to lift you up. We want to glorify your name. We want to give you thanks and praise, all adoration. Father, your word says you inhabit the praises of your people. We ask that you would present. We ask that you would present yourself now with us. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Give There is none like Just careful, yeah. Put it closer so good.
All right, just before we get started, before we go into the teaching, obviously today in the nation there's a big gathering that's taking place. We want to just acknowledge what's going on and where we are and what we need to be praying about. So I've asked Mark to lead us into prayer. He's going to sing the Shema for us first, and then we're going to pray for the nation before we go into the teaching. Okay?
Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam
Amen.
Our Father, we just want to once again say thank you for who you are, for your love that you bestowed upon us. Father, your judgments, your justice. Father, your word is everlasting. Your truth endures. Father, we bring before you our nation. We cry out to you, Father. Forgive our nation, Father, for the wickedness that it has done. Father, forgive us for our wickedness. Your word says, if my people who are called by their name, by my name, will humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, forgive their sin and heal their land. Father, we repent on behalf of this nation, Father, we repent. We ask, Father, that you will forgive this land, Father, forgive this nation, and heal our land. Father, we pray for this government. We bring them up before you, Father. I pray first and foremost, Father, for you to save the government, Father. May they come to know you. May they glorify your name. Father, I pray that you bring healing to them. Father, the greed that has corrupted their minds, the lies and deceit that the enemy is wrought in them, Father. Father, the money is nothing. Father, don't let them wake up too late. Wake them up now, we pray, Father, and we pray right now, Father, that you raise them up for your purpose and plan. Do not let them be like Pharaoh, who hardened their heart, hardened his heart. Father, but may the government stop and see who you are. There is no one like you. I pray right now, Father, for each and every single person in this nation, Father. Turn hearts towards you, Father, for the churches, Father. Turn their hearts towards you, Father. Father, may repentance come over the churches, Father. Over this nation, I pray for repentance over this nation. For you to revive the hearts in accordance to your word, Father. I ask, dear Father, that you will please, as we stand together in agreement, Father, we pray for repentance over our nation. For you. We glorify you, we give you honor, all praise, and adoration. Yeshua, Yeshua, Mashiach, we pray. Amen.
Can you guys hear in the back? Wants it high or low? Hands, who wants it high? That's not the majority. Put it on 2.
Good job,
No. Right. Breathe into this blood. The festivities. Alright, everybody settle in. Okay, say the bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan Torah. Amen. Desolate, Lord God, King of the universe, who gives the Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to his people Israel. With all the peoples to be saying, Yeshua, the Messiah, Lord. Amen. Right. So as we boldly go where people fear, dread and tremble and all the rest of it, at a time when our nation is seeking Abba's face, let us learn from what Abba has done in the past. I asked you guys to just have a squeeze into the book of Judges. Before we get down to the breakdown of what the book's about and all the rest of it, someone tell me what the word judge actually means. Governor, healer, what else do you have?
One of Jesus.
You did? Oh, you broke it down into paleo. Okay, let's go.
Well, it's judges.
Shafat or Shaftim.
Okay. So it's
No, this is too
fine. I don't know if they're right, but
We'll just go with it. Yeah, let's go.
I don't know if that's good. I'll try.
Alright, now we have to take a moment to Regan normally doesn't do Hebrew value right now. This is a little bit foreign for him. So we will enjoy this. What's that method?
Shouldn't he start on the right hand side of the board?
Would you like me to do it this way? This is make it feel better.
Here comes the judge.
You got some stuff.
Hey, judge.
Yes. That's fine. Just whatever you can do. Trust. Stop it.
Right, just show you stand right down too long.
Yeah, everything is blood. It's one of them. You guys that are sitting there with your phones on your lap, you can check what Regan's saying. Check your patio. We sent out a chart a good while ago, check what it's saying. The shin is a picture of teeth. It means to consume, to brace, to destroy or sharp. The pei is a picture of the mouth. It means to speak or means a word. And the tet is a picture of a snake and means to surround, to encircle, or to ensnare. 2 minutes live Bible study. Coming to you from Benoni. Do we agree? Is that what you got with your video? While I'm asking that, what do we can take away from this?
Volunteer knowledge.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I'm agreeing with it. I think you can either, because I think there's a few things that can happen. When you judge, you can either listen, and then good can come from it. You can hear a word, you can pay attention, you can turn. Or you can not, if you don't pay attention, you can be consumed. And you won't be, surrounded by him. Or you may be surrounded by an enemy because you've decided your own protection.
Interesting little statement, because we'll get into that in a bit. I think it goes quite nicely with the theme of the book. Okay, so you're looking at plural. The plural of judges, and the name of the book is Shoftim. And as we're looking at this, it's just one aspect of breaking down the Hebrew into their original picture form. And remember, each picture is trying to tell you something about it. But as well, when we're talking about Hebrew, we're talking about function. So when you look at Shoftim or a judge, it's what they do, right? And this is what I want you to pay attention to as you go through the book. What did they do? They had different functions. Sometimes they were deliverer, sometimes they were standing there judging cases, sometimes they were appearing as prophets, and each judge has certain characteristics. What the theme of the book is, help me out here, what's the theme of the book?
Well, Israel was on a spiral downwards, a spiritual spiral.
Okay. So we've got... Right? It goes through a cycle. It goes through a sin cycle. But the reason that the sin cycle is there is why? Every man saw what was right in his own eyes because there was no king in the land. Those verses go together, right? So because we don't have godly leadership, and what is it in Torah that we need to understand that a king should do? Right. He is instructed to write copy down the Torah scroll, the first 5 books. That is an instruction for him, and it's for him to keep with him. Why?
He is going to be judging.
Right. Well, he should judge righteously, but who put him into power? The Father. And who's holding him accountable? The Father. And whose nation is this? The Father's. Right? And remember the story of how we get to a king. A little bit later, fast forward to Samuel. What did they say? Shmuel. What's ironic about that statement? What does Shmuel mean? Shema? Al? God. Okay, so someone who listens to God, in a sense. We'll break it up just quickly with two different words. And you're listening to God, and then they go to the guy who's listening to God, and they say, we don't want you anymore. We want a king. We want to be like them other nations. You were made to be a unique, peculiar treasure, and you want to be like them. Okay? Then you've got a problem with the guy who's supposed to be hearing the very God, the word of God, turning around saying, this is not a good thing, but you ignore him anyway. And then you keep on pushing, you keep on pushing, you keep on pushing back. Why? Because you want your own way, not God's way. Let's pause there for a second. Think back. Yesterday, 2 weeks ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, when you might have done that. And we pushed for a king. And one of the biggest statements I feel in the entirety of Samuel's ministry, he looks at them and he takes it personally and he goes, what did I do? I didn't steal from you guys, I didn't mistreat you guys, what is your problem? Why all of a sudden this push to, you don't want me to act as a prophet? And then God sits down or tells him to sit down and relax a little bit, Vincent paraphrase version. And he says, my boy, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting. So the whole push was actually against God. Who was the scapegoat for the people? No. Yeah. Who was the one who was taking the brunt of the I want to go against God moment? Samuel. Right. Another faith lesson. Sometimes you will be standing up and you will be doing what's right and you will be fulfilling your office in accordance. And sometimes people won't like that. Well, that's ironical, don't you think? Here I come to do what God told me to do. Remember, be careful, we test everything in accordance. But as I'm fulfilling my job, people might not like you. How many of you have been ostracized since you came to faith? Your old party circles all of a sudden don't want you around. Why? Because if he's there, he's like this walking conscience. Now, because he doesn't want to drink, we have to drink less. So let's just not invite him. But what did I do? I wasn't mean to them. I loved them. I listened to them. I ignored them when they were being off. And then you realize the same truth. They're not rejecting you, they're rejecting me. But since you are mine and you reflect me, sorry, would you out of picture? Strong leadership will keep things in place. Strong leadership will hold this nation. It will hold these churches. It will hold the communities together. Without strong leadership, we have people doing as they see fit, and we go through a cycle. Right, and our cycle does what? Let's start here. First of all, we're in blessing. Joshua is still around. He says, choose this day whom you will serve. Can you deny everything that he's done for you to get you to this point? No, we can't. Okay, good. So then I ask you the question. If Elohim is God, or is Baal God? So then they go, well, we can't deny the fact that he beat up the Egyptians, and then he came here, and then he brought us Red Sea crossing, and then he fed us, and he looked after us, and then we rebelled against him 10 times, and then he made us wandering a little bit more. But while we were wandering, he still looked after us, he still fed us. Our ankles did not swell, our clothes did not break, our sandals did not wear, and he gets us through to this border. He makes us take on more battle after battle. He gives us victory after victory after victory after victory when the odds are stacked against us. Armies and coalitions of armies come down. So much so that we cannot even count them. And they're coming to wage war with their God's banner in tow, and they're saying, this is who we stand for. Let's see if your God stands up to our God. We know he's a God of the wilderness. He kept you there. You're not in the wilderness anymore. What did they find out? Like when Jonah and the sailors asked the question, Which God do you serve? Maybe we can petition him. I serve the God who made heaven and earth, the sea and dry land. He made it all. And then they went, oh goodness, where can we go? Where can we hide? You can't. You just can't. He made everything. And Allah says, if you think you've seen my power, you've seen one function of me in a wilderness with the people I have chosen. But do not mistake my authority that I can carry it out wherever I please against whatever fake God you think is going to come up against me. You think the battle is yours? No. Allah says the battle is mine. My name is on the line. You are the little mirror. You are the little guy holding a stick that says, Adonai Nissi. The Lord is my banner. It's the flag on which you fight for. This is what you stand for. This is who you are. You've also seen, you've seen those movies, right? It might be a little bit long ago, but there was a long time ago where you see movies like Braveheart and The Patriot, and they're fighting for more than themselves. Who does he represent? Braveheart and all Scotland and painted faces and kilts and all those good things. And he was making a stand for the country he represented. But when you see old Mel again going completely nuts, you see him in the Patriot, this time waving an American flag, and he holds the stand and he puts it to the ground and people rally to him. If one guy can take a stand, what's your excuse? Sometimes he's going to lift you up and he's going to say, are you going to be that one guy? You were living in comfort, things were good. You were starting to settle and take hold of your inheritance and things were getting there. We have little pockets of problems, but don't worry, we can deal with it. This is the easy stuff. And what I find funny is that we stumble more on the easy stuff than the big stuff. There's going to be a famine for 40 years. Don't worry, God's got me. It's going to be tough, but we get through it. There's going to be a little speed bump in the road and people start limping. You made it through the wilderness. He got you through there. Why are you freaking out about a speed bump? Oh, this is completely different. So you're making God's arm too short. We get to this place that because of our comfort, we get into a place where we start to sin. And Allah goes, well, you can't stay there in your sin. What's going to happen in your sin? You're going to bring death, not only to yourself, but to people around you. How many of you have seen that the sin of one person affects an entire family? How many of you have seen that the sin that the family tries to hide affects an entire fellowship? How many of you have seen that that fellowship affects a whole bunch of other families that don't even know about the fellowship? And so it goes on. It's a ripple effect. Right? If you want a biblical narrative for that, you can just go back to a guy called I, or a place called I, and a guy called Achab. Okay? He made a decision that affected his family. His decision cost men their lives. Those men who won't come home anymore because of another man's greed and not trusting in his future. And who died because of it? It wasn't just Achan, it was his family because they tried to conceal it. Absolutely. And Achan, then also, we still got missing Israelites, men that are no longer with us because of one man. It doesn't matter if you think you're just going to take a step out of the front line because I'm sick and tired of this God thing. Think for a second of who you're leaving behind and the big hole you're leaving. Your sin, and this is what you're going to see, affects the entire nation. If it starts to creep in one place, it's going to spread like cancer. I need you to get a shift in your mind. When we see sin the way God sees it, what should we see? What should we see? Rebellion. Not just rebellion. I want you to take a look. Alright, let's use this. Let's pretend that this is a clump of a little couple of grams of white powder. And somewhere along the line, one of your children, may God protect us from it, decide that they want to experiment a little bit with worldly pleasures. And they start with a little green thing that gets tried out. And then they like the way that feels. And they get very hungry a lot. And then they laugh and they giggle and there's no real consequence. And then after that, they start going, well, if that makes me feel good and this is stronger. Oh. And then we try that. And we had the biggest party we ever had before, because now I don't get tired, now I can party for 3 days straight. And that all of a sudden gets us to a point where 1 doesn't do it for me anymore. I need 2, I need 3, I need 4, I need something extra. She's trying to communicate with me, just deal with me. Gets to the point where you get and you think you need something stronger. And when you get to the place where you're chasing the next thrill, you're not looking at the wave of destruction that is coming after you. Now, you as a loving parent, see your child struggling, fighting, looking at their lives fall apart, their schoolwork, their relationships, they're in bad places, making bad decisions, and they've got bad people chasing them because you don't have money. Because all they do is care about getting paid. And you find a little white plastic rolled up somewhere. You start to see this stuff as the cancer that is killing your child. My child's not bad, my child's hooked on this stuff. That is what sin is to go. You've made a couple of bad decisions, you're in over your head, you're stuck in a place of destruction, it's killing you. You don't see it because you're only chasing the effects of it, but you are going to die. I love you, I will fight with you, and I will wage war against this stuff because of it. The whole point of Yeshua is him waging war against the thing that's killing their kids. It's the parasite that I cannot get rid of. It's the thing that is utterly destroying everything that I know. I made it to be perfect. And they've grabbed hold of stuff and they've run with it and they don't even see what's happening around them. Know anybody like that? They get stuck in the cycle where they're only focusing on their pleasure instead of the weight of destruction behind it. Sin. Sin, Abba says, not on my watch. If naughty children want to be naughty children, discipline will come. Why? Why does Allah discipline? Love. It says in Scripture, I discipline you like a father disciplines his child. Don't fret about it. Actually understand that I'm doing this because I love you. I'm trying to keep you safe. Sometimes the biggest problems we have are caused when we exercise our freedom and push for our wants and desires so hard that we end up causing our own downfall. Father, thankfully, when you read it in Torah, right, and we took you through it, the list of blessings if you follow me are like that long. And the list of curses are like that long. And you think, yo, why is this so angry? Why can't you just smack me and leave me alone? I want you to envision a kid that's running to go to the dealer, and daddy's behind him, putting on his shoe, taking a gem, sitting on top of it. He gets out again. I dive tackle him and I tie his shoes together. He starts hopping towards it. Each time he puts a speed bump, one after the next, to try and stop you from getting to that destination. Because if you get there, you die. That's what that curse is. It's me fighting for you. And I will send person after person, warning after warning, consequence after consequence, so that you can just wake up. Why do you want to hurt yourself? This is a question I often ask people when we get into the counseling side of it. Don't you love yourself enough that you want to destroy yourself? You continually choosing to stick your head in the door and closing it repeatedly on your head. What joy are you getting out of this? Because I'm the one that has to pick up the pieces when you leave. You're on the floor. You're crying. Nothing's going right. You don't know where God is anymore. You don't know how you became this person. And I say to you, it's the first time you didn't listen to me when you stuck your head in the door and go, I don't know what's going to happen if I do this. Right. So we get to a place where Allah brings consequence. And that consequence is a good thing. Remember we said this before, you get to a place where we're in a society that wants to not deal with the sin, but wants to deal with the consequence of sin. Don't stop sleeping around, it's completely normal. Take antibiotics, you'll get rid of that thing in a little while. It's true. I just need to go to the doctor. He'll help me. Well, if you actually stopped this, you would continually be there. You wouldn't have to deal with this. Don't just look at the, go down to the root. That consequence is going to make us realize we need something. It's going to bring us through teshuvah. What's teshuvah? Repentance. Literally, I'm running towards my dealer and I stop and I go, you know what, if you don't love me, that guy does. And I run towards my father, the prodigal son. I get to a place when I say, enough of it, I need to fix me. And the only one I can trust is the one that's been fighting for me the entire time. You with me? So with teshuvah, what comes next? Teshuvah will also bring supplication.
But it's a whole lot of crying before teshuvah.
Isn't it just? You'll see this phrase a lot in Judges, and they cried out. And I want to remind you again of the time when they were sitting in Egypt. And slavery and everything was so bad and so horrible and so, I hate my life. They cried out. Does it say in the beginning who they cried out to? No, they didn't even know God. They didn't even know His character. They didn't even know His name. I just cry out. I hate my life. And Allah goes, well, when are you going to start living for me? You created this. You were happy as long as you're getting fed and getting paid. But there must be more meaning to life. There is. You want to know what it is? No, just stop a second. Let me just deal with what I'm going to do now. I just want you to take me out of my consequence so that I can try something different and hopefully it goes to a different road. And then we run into another wall. And that's it.
Teshuvah and Yeshua.
Yes. And Shuv. Teshuvah comes from, it's more the Shuv, which means to return to, where again, Teshuvah will lead you to salvation, it will lead you to being saved. Okay? So it'll identically bring you to, if we're going to make a link, Yehoshua. Okay? What does Yehoshua mean? Joshua? God says. Alright? Yehoshua is slightly different than salvation, but same sort of root. Okay? That's why Yeshua, okay, we understand the relationship between the two. Okay? God will save, and when I cry out for you, or I long to see your Yeshua, every time you see that in Torah, Moses declares it. He says, oh, how I long to see your Yeshua. It's actually a messianic expectation. I'm looking for your salvation, not just your comfort. Salvation in which form are you asking for? Fast forward New Testament. Get rid of the pagans and let us worship the way we want to. Right, that'll save you for about a couple of 100 years. And then what? If you know anything about the book of Judges, you get comfortable, you start to sin, you start doing it your way again, and I have to send another deliverer. And then you get comfortable, and then you get good, and you do it again, and then I have to send another deliverer. How many more times do you want Abba to repeat the cycle until you get the point? You cannot save us from us in the way of sending one guy to stand over there and just take away our consequence. If you don't change my heart, I'm going to keep on doing the same thing. It is you are the problem. Now that's a tough pillow. Well, pillow. Yes, don't eat pillows, it's very bad. It's a tough pill to swallow. The problem is we're broken. You know, Paul says it this way, you know, we overlook this thing where he talks about two laws warring in his body. One that gives life and freedom, is pure and good, God's way. And one that brings death and sin and brokenness, my way. It's the sin against knowing what God wants me to do and choosing flesh, choosing myself. And he goes as far as to say as, who will save me from this wretched being that I am? Now understand, this is a guy who's walking out his salvation. He met Yeshua, he spent time with him, remember the vision, and he says he was taught by him for 40 or was it 3 years he wandered in the wilderness.
14 years.
14.
14.
Check that. And we get to the place where he's walking around and he's doing his thing and he's being instructed by Abba, and he gets to the place where he gets full understanding, and even then he realizes that he's still broken. You know what the good news is? Right after that he says, who's going to save me? He can. Because I know what I need to do, but somehow I always make the wrong choice. I know how I need to act, but I somehow always do it in the wrong way. How then can I be saved from sin? Simple. Take the yucky pot and ask God to fix it. I don't want to be that guy anymore. I don't want to make that decision anymore. Sometimes you might need to pray and fast, and you really need to seek God's face. But He alone can break the cycle. After I cry out, He sends a deliverer. He sends salvation. He sends a judge. And He's like, okay, my kids need me. I'm just going to go and sort this out quickly. And after I get delivered, and I'm happy for a while, I get comfortable again, and after I get comfortable, I start making silly decisions. Guys, you might go through this cycle with some of the stuff that you do. You make the same mistakes time after time after time. The question is, do you want to change? The problem is, sometimes God is going to require you to take ownership, or most of the time. Let me rephrase that. Let me give you a biblical example. We go up to the Mishkan. I'm really rich, I'm a king, I have a bull. And I'm going to go have a little moment at the gate with the Levi. Up to the priest, and then I'm going to go, hi, just send it in there, it's between me and God, He understands, I'll see you later. Is that the way that God goes? No. He says you will press on and confess. Father, forgive me, for I'm a wicked man who caught adultery. And he will press himself onto the animal. And the Levi will go, hello. Where's God? It's not to be here. You're going to get to the place where he hears it, he acknowledges it, but I can only get to the place of Teshuvah if I acknowledge that it was me who did it. You can blame Satan, you can blame your circumstances, you can blame it all. You are responsible for your own actions. Only you can choose. Free will is the biggest blessing and biggest curse. And we think, well, if He knew we were going to sin, why did He put a snake there in the first place? Why did He put that tree there in the first place? Why didn't He just leave it there? understand that there's another cycle in play. Everything was perfect. There was creation, and Allah was smiling. What happened next? We broke it. There was a snake, there was a problem with perception, and sin entered the world. What happened next? Sin brought death. There's a point you sit there and you go, surely you won't die. And then in the next few following chapters, all of a sudden you see a genealogy. You see, Adam lived for so many years and then he died. And so we go on. Every person that goes through the cycle, death is the thing. I wasn't like you. You didn't listen. Sin always brings death. That's why he had to conquer death. He brings sin and death in. We bring sin and death into the world, and then he gives us what? To identify what is sin and what is not. So if I go to the place of Ruach, and I think if Abba took some dirt from the Adamah, the sand, and he went, and out you came, how much more complex is the already created creation, though fallen or broken, and if I take that same breath and I infuse in him again? You become a new creation. You die and you become new. I'm going to change your heart. I'm going to renew your mind. I'm going to make you understand that you are sons and daughters of the Most High. I'm going to make you understand that you cannot walk in the world. I'm going to make you understand that the enemy wants to destroy you. I'm going to make you understand that you have to take a banner and stick it in the ground and you say, from this point no further, because I stand for him and his statutes and his ways, because he is the creator. And I hold on to that. Why? Because he's made a promise. And when I come back, or when he comes back, he's going to start establishing everything as it should be for eternity. Me and him in a garden forever. Amen? Is that what the promise you are looking forward to? No more cancer, no more disease, no more death, no more colds and flus, no more aching bones. None of that. You broke it, he's going to fix it. But in his divine understanding, he needs man to understand where's the problem. Where's the problem? You with me? The cycle in Shoftim is going to take these things and they're going to go again and again and again and again. And you're going to learn from one man taking a stand, one man taking a stand, one man taking a stand, one man taking a stand against unbelievable odds. All the judges, and you guys have been around a little bit, all perfect. Samson. You know, like I said, I always laugh at Gideon. Oh, mighty man of God. While he's hiding away from the Philistine in a wine press picking wheat. Who said that? There's no one here. Now you take a guy who's too scared to stand up and you make him stand against armies. You see, he takes men and women who struggle. And you say hallelujah. No. He's chosen you, he's going to use you, and we can stand there knowing. This is a big part of this call, guys. You can't do it. If any of you pretend grown-ups, one thing I've learned as I've grown older in my life, just because they are more mature does not always make them grown-ups. Because most of the time we giggle at the same place. We can have a good time and we can laugh and we can do that. Most of you people that have walked through this process, have you come to the conclusion that you in your wisdom, in your experience, in walking out Scripture, and we have got many that have been doing it for longer than I've been alive. I honor them for that. In all of your wisdom, in all of your experience, have you got this life figured out? No, we smile and people. Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? Can you prepare in any way, shape, or form, even with the Ruach HaKodesh that's dwelling inside you? Can you prepare for any of it? No. Because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what we want to be when we grow up. We have no idea how this is going to play out. All I know is when it's all said and done, God is going to be standing on a mountain and He goes, ta-da! We saw patches of it as you have promised, but we don't fully understand how you got from there to there and this and all the rest of it. And we're still going to be sitting there scratching our heads going about the questions.
What did Paul say? We seek for a grasp, don't we?
Yeah. We're trying to take the pieces of clarity and put it into, it looks like this, but we're actually not very sure. We're pretty sure, but we're also not very sure. You get to a place where you learn, and if you haven't got there yet, these things, when you hold on and you think, my life and I'm going to do it my way, then eventually when God comes in and your fingers are all bending the wrong way, because He had to break all of them, just so that you would let go a little, because you're not controlling at all. He needs to take your hands off the steering wheel and He says, do you trust me enough to know that I'm going to get you to where you need?
Well, I've always seen that it's, well, not always, since I've come to faith, I've seen it as we were holding on to a log going down a massive river of waterfall, you not be able to go. And He's there with the net saying, get go.
Yeah. It's a nice analogy, fish of the man. Even when you don't, when you act more like the fish. Guys, we get stuck in cycles, but my point is simply this: you can't do it by yourself. You need Him every step of the way. Every decision you make needs to be God-centered. I want you to press into Him. I want you to pray to Him. He knows what He created you to be, not what man says you can be or what you see yourself. He knows where you're going to be in 10 years' time if you make the right choice, and He knows where you're going to be in 5 years' time if you don't. The reason I chose the longevity side is because blessing brings life and curse brings death. If any of you were as naughty as I was, we can count at least 5 times in our life that we should not be alive. I still shudder at the things I did. And I recognize the fact if God did not appear in my life when He did, I would be dead. The problem is, I would have probably taken 1 or 2 of my friends with me. And that's if He was gracious enough. Sometimes we hear of stories. I went to school with a bunch of guys, 5 guys in a city golf, 160 k's an hour down Acres Road. 1 guy walked away. I could have stopped. I could have said no. Sometimes I've heard of cases where the driver walks away and the passengers all here. You were driving your car. Now remember, holding on to your life, doing 160 down the road because you want to achieve what you want to achieve, how you want to do it, when you want to do it. Remember the people that are looking to you for guidance, that are looking to you to get them there safely, that are looking to you to know when it's safe and when it's not safe. Guys, there were 2 people in the garden and there was 1 piece of food. Both died. We need to start acknowledging the fact just because I'm comfortable does not mean that God has allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do, how I want to do it, when I want to do it. there is always a consequence. Baruch Hashem, there is always a consequence. Because if he doesn't smack our backsides, we will never learn. You know, there's a reason the psalmist says, your rod and your staff comfort me. And then when the more you go into the shepherding, you realize, oh, shame, does he pat him with the one staff? Come away from the cliff. The beating was real. It stung. But if I don't, you're going to die, and you might pull one or two other sheep with you. And then the more you look at this, you know, remember there was a Cadbury's ad not too long ago with the sheep, the little lamb, and the shepherd, and he's prancing around, and he's like, oh, look at the baby sheep. Moments before, real-time shepherding, stupid sheep wants to climb off the edge of a cliff and kill itself. There's more than once it goes off wandering. If I don't break its leg, it's going to get eaten by lions and wolves and bears or jump off the edge of a cliff. And maybe it's just going to break all four legs and sit there starving for the next couple of days. Out of love, the shepherd will come out knowing that he's going to have to carry the sheep from pasture to pasture. Knowing that he's going to have to bend down and pick up water for it and feed it by hand. Knowing that that sheep will eventually become so clingy that every time he walks there's this nuzzle and rub against his leg. Some of you have had your legs broken. Some of you have learned that the shepherd's life and the shepherd equals provision, the shepherd equals supply, the shepherd equals safety, the shepherd equals shalom. And the next generation might not understand. Because you didn't take the time to teach them and ask Allah to raise up people. That next generation will not understand the consequence your generation has to go through. Listen to me, there was a generation that thought that we could do what we could do, how we could do it, with whatever motives we thought were okay. In this nation, when the rand dollar was at 1-to-1. And they were looking to us as a world power, as people who knew mining, who knew agriculture. They were looking to us for guidance on how to grow their economy. A couple of generations down the line, we're looking at the consequence of everything that they thought was okay, and we're still trying to pick up the pieces and fix the mistakes. We are looking and we are asking Allah to intervene. But at the same time, what I like and what I hear is that we pray for the leadership to change, because if leadership doesn't change, nothing changes. Men, remember that. If you're not there yet, you will lead your home. You will lead them to destruction, or you will lead them to life. Ladies, it is your responsibility to lift up and to balance your husband. Because if you don't, the consequences for your family are real. Are we wrong? So we say again? Right. And he's not letting it get any better. He's not letting it get any better because you think you're going to fix it yourself. It's ultimately about making teshuvah and coming back to me. Guys, we were praying about this before we got here. The simple fact of the matter is a gathering unless your hearts change. Unless these people go home after the gathering and they actually change the way they run their lives, run their jobs, run their companies. Some of them are in parliament already. How they run the country. Unless they change, this nation doesn't change. Unless you change, nothing changes. Okay, we've spoken a whole bunch of stuff and very little about that. But at least you'll get to understand when I say sin cycle, you will know what I'm talking about. I want you to look at the first chapter. If you haven't done it already, there are names, there are places. What do we do with names and places? You find meanings. And look at the hidden things behind it. What does Otniel mean? God will give you a function of a person who's raising up, because he's trying to teach the people who he is. Okay? Places, people, chapter 2 is very much about recounting what has happened before, so we can breeze through that. Alright? We'll do the breakup very quickly, and then we will go into the other stuff. I will be asking again for meanings, and if there is a place mentioned, also get into the habit of asking what else happened there. If I say Hebron, what else happened at Hebron? Okay, and so we go on. There's a reason, there's always a reason for the place and the people he chooses to be there. So just get into the habit of asking the questions, and it'll also help you understand the fullness and context of what he's talking about and why is allotting that person that land. Alright, happy? Alright, break time is every time. Where you are, just think up. Alright, let's bow our heads. Father, we just thank you for this family. Father, we thank you that you have brought us to the place, Lord Father, that we need to look at our situations and cry out to you. Father, we could have been happily carrying on with our lives, Lord Father, not acknowledging you, not acknowledging our sin, not acknowledging the problems that we have in this nation. Father, but we know we need to address them, because there are going to be many people, Lord Father, that suffer because of it. So Father, as this family steps up before you, as I lift up this fellowship, Lord Father, this leadership, I pray, Father, that you would just help us acknowledge if we've fallen short in any way, Father, that you would just correct us, so that we may make Teshuvah, Lord Father, and we may lead these people, Lord Father, to you and reflect only you. Father, this flock that we are leading, Lord Father, this family, I want us to lift them up, Lord, because they are also leading others. Father, as we are making disciples, I pray that they reflect you and only you. That when they speak, we hear Yeshua. When we love, we see Yeshua. When we walk, we see the dust of Yeshua. Father, that we may fulfill this commission of raising up Talmidim disciples, Lord Father, for your glory. Being baptized, Lord Father, cleansed with the power of the Ruach in the Son's name, Father, for your glory. So that, as you have said, you will be with us even to the end of the age. Father, if you tarry, may the fruit be bountiful. May it be sweet to your mouth. And may we come kneeling at your feet and, Father, glorify what you have done through us. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. Amen.